Welcome to Module 4 of Sanitation Safety Planning. My name is Kate Medlicott and I will be your guide in this module to develop and implement an incremental improvement plan. Remember that in Module 3 we identified the highest priority risks. Now, in Module 4, it is time to select new control measures that address those risks at the most effective places in the system. This process helps ensure that funding and improvement efforts target the highest risks with the greatest urgency. In Module 4, we will consider options to control the identified risks, develop an incremental improvement plan, and then implement the improvement plan. The main output is an implementation plan that should ensure the protection of all exposure groups along the sanitation chain. From Module 3, the SSP team will have a comprehensive list of hazards and hazardous events ranked according to the level of risk. Step 4.1 encourages the team to consider options to control the prioritised hazardous events and reduce risk. Improvement options fall into the following categories: regulatory measures, technical control measures, management and operational controls, and behaviour change measures. I will explain each of them. Regulatory measures are mechanisms to regulate the sanitation service chain. These include legislation, regulation, standards, and guidelines. Areas that may require legislation and regulation are presented in the WHO guidelines in Chapter 4. For instance, for toilets, there may be technical standards for toilet containment and superstructures. Also for the containment, there may be a register of on-site facilities and licensing to regulate fecal sludge emptying service providers. Technical control measures, also called technology upgrades, refer to the construction or refurbishment of sanitation infrastructure. Examples include constructing or repairing toilets in households or other settings, construction of fecal sludge treatment plants and transfer stations, or new wastewater treatment plants or process elements. Management and operational control measures refer to methods, procedures, and routines to carry out specific activities effectively to control the risk. They include how people are organised and trained to carry out their work. Examples include development and adherence to standard operating procedures, training on service delivery, vector control programs, and operational measures such as for reuse, crop restrictions, and withholding times. Another important improvement option is behaviour change measures. Behaviour change measures refer to programs designed to foster health protective behaviours at the level of the individual, the household, the community, and the workers involved in service delivery. Depending on the specific situation, desired behaviours may include abandoning open defecation and adopting safe sanitation facilities, ensuring the regular emptying of on-site facilities, connecting to a sewage system where available and paying the service charges, or wearing a personal protective equipment. Different approaches are used for behaviour change. These include information, education, and communication-based messaging approaches, community-based approaches, social and commercial marketing approaches, and approaches based on psychological and social theories. Chapter 5 of the 2018 WHO Guidelines offers an entire chapter on this topic. Sanitation systems should provide a series of barriers against different types of hazards. It's always recommended to take a multi-barrier approach. Every time, when considering improvement options, we need to think about all of these types of measures in each step of the sanitation chain. For instance, at the toilet step, we might propose installation of flush toilets. However, this must be accompanied by other non-technical measures. For instance, the training of masons for correct installation, a program to encourage correct use and maintenance of the toilet, and technical standards on design and location. At the containment step, we might think about ensuring properly functioning septic tanks. We should also be able to monitor, so building a database of on-site sanitation infrastructure is important. Furthermore, a program to encourage the remediation of unsealed or leaking tanks, as well as guidelines on periodic inspection of on-site systems by authorities to drive remediation should be implemented. While considering improvement options at the conveyance step, we could think about installing fecal sludge transfer stations, establishing a call centre for septic tank emptying, or developing a consumer protection program and licensing emptying service providers. Likewise, while developing improvement options for treatment, we might consider construction of a fecal sludge treatment plant with standard operating procedures for operation and maintenance. To keep workers safe, an internal awareness raising program could be implemented, as well as the development of standards for effluent and sludge from treatment facilities. For reuse, to protect farmers, we might construct additional treatment of dried sludge, while to protect the health of produce consumers, we could train farmers on crop selection and start a household food safety program. From the regulatory perspective, standards for products made of sludge could be developed. Now, when selecting control options, take into account the following: potential for improving existing controls, cost of the control option, technical effectiveness, acceptability and reliability of the control in relation to local cultural habits, responsibility for implementing, managing and monitoring the new proposed control, and potential for the control measure to work under different climate change scenarios. In step 4.2, once the most appropriate control measures for each risk have been identified, the team records the planned new and improved controls in an improvement plan. Chapter 4 of the 2018 WHO Guidelines offers interesting information about planning sanitation systems. It indicates that to formulate inclusive, equitable and practical solutions, it is essential to understand the existing mix of sanitation systems and to plan how that mix should change over time as progress is made. The outcome of this approach is incremental and context-specific improvement of the sanitation system. Interventions can be targeted and sequenced to maximize the positive impacts on public health. This figure is an example of how technology targets can be visualized, showing phasing out of unsafe sanitation systems to achieve universal access to safe systems over time. The time frame to achieve sanitation targets typically falls well beyond the normal time horizons of electoral cycles or externally funded projects of 3 to 5 years. Sanitation planning, therefore, should be institutionalized and integrated into government planning, budgeting and financing systems. While preparing the Incremental Improvement Plan, you should prioritize improvements based on hazards with the highest risks, identify the person or agency responsible and the timeline, ensure coordination, and the SSP team may also choose to select and implement more affordable interim control measures until sufficient funds for more expensive options are available. The Incremental Improvement Plan should allow for adaptive management processes suitable to respond to emergent and unforeseen conditions. For instance, this may include incorporating an emergency management plan for specific climate-related hazards. Step 4.3 is the actual implementation of the improvement plan, which requires major coordination and implementation efforts. Ideally, part of the funds should be secured up front to ensure that immediate actions are taken. However, many activities will require commitment from the responsible organisations rather than special funding. This is the case with regulatory and management control measures, as local ordinances and guidelines can be prepared within the daily work of the authorities involved. For behaviour change measures targeting the general population, coordination is needed for community mobilisation and awareness raising campaigns. Great, so we've now completed Module 4 of the SSP methodology. You have learned how to consider options to control identified risks, use selected options to develop an incremental improvement plan, and implement the improvement plan. I recommend downloading the WHO guidelines to learn more about improvement options at each step of the sanitation system in Chapter 3, regulatory measures in Chapter 4, and behaviour change measures in Chapter 5. Also, you should carefully read Module 4 of your SSP manual. In the following lecture, we will continue with the SSP methodology, in particular Module 5, Monitor Control Measures and Verify Performance. Thanks for watching.